You want to go there? If you're going to call me a liar, let's do it. Alcoholic. Pill popper.
I have some presents for all of you.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be recapping the new episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 6, Episode 12. Let's go right into this. This was another pretty good episode. It was a fun episode. I can't wait for the new upcoming season of Beverly Hills, which will be this Thursday. Also, I did not realize this, but according to the rumors, there's only 3 more episodes left for Salt Lake City. They're saying, because next week they're already going to their cast trip, which will be a 3-part episode trip. And after that, it's over. And then we get to wow, this season has gone by so fast. It's just been so good, right? that it feels like it's gone by so fast. So let's get right into this episode. So we start with silly Bronwyn picking up Todd from the airport in one of her inflatable costumes. She's crazy. Even though they had just had some problems, the two of them, it seems like they're moving past it. Which, I mean, good for her. The only thing I agree with Heather Gay on is that Bronwyn can be very confusing when it comes to her marriage. So she's telling Todd when they're on their way back, Todd, do you remember what you told me about the whole airplane drama with Meredith and Britney? And he's like, yeah, I told you not to get involved. And Bronwyn says, well, guess what? I did get involved. I was trying to do the right thing. I told Meredith what Whitney told me about her. Now Whitney doesn't trust me. And Todd's like, this whole group just needs to sit down and apologize to each other over all the tea they've spilled about one another. Funny that he mentions that because Bronwyn has an idea. As she told us last week, she is working hard on studying to get her United States of America citizenship. So she has an idea for a party. Super on theme. She's calling it the Boston Spill the Tea Party. I like the idea. Kind of makes sense. Patriotic, historian, all in one, and of course messy. So that's gonna be that. All right, then moving on to Whitney and Justin. This was very awkward. So they're sitting on their back porch. There's an awkward silence. Whitney says to him, I just saw a huge transfer of money from our bank account to one of our vendors. That hurt. And he says, well, yeah, we need to make things right with the people that we owe money to. And Whitney says, it just sucks because my intuition told me not to go into this and I didn't listen to it. So essentially, just to remind y'all, Whitney did a merger with a company with her Wild Rose brand, and it was a mistake. Now they're trying to pull out of it because it was a failure. It was a total failure. Whitney is telling Justin that her ultimate goal was always to get her Wild Rose beauty brand to Sephora. As a matter of fact, the week that she decided to go through with this merger, she met with someone important from Sephora, but at that point it was too late. Now, here's the thing. She's sort of blaming Justin for this because he was encouraging her to do this merging of the companies. She says that the reason why she agreed to his suggestion was because for once he was invested in her business and it seemed like he cared about it, so she did it, but again, it was a mistake. He says, well, I'm sorry that I even got involved. And she's like, well, I'm trying to not resent you, but it's hard. So she's crying about this. Now, Whitney, I'm sorry you went through this failure. I can't imagine you have this business that means so much to you, and then you do such a big business move that just did not turn out as you were planning on, and it actually just backfired. But don't be blaming your husband. I mean, it's your company. You made the decision. He didn't deliberately do this to hurt you. I mean, I'm sure he believed in it too. And why are you even doing business with your family? Like, we've heard it a million times that it never ends well. No matter how much you love them, don't be doing no business or taking any business advice from your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your mom, your dad. It does not end well. I don't know. I feel bad for Whitney, but she just, it seems like she always has to have somebody to blame in her life about everything. All right, moving on, we head over to Heather's house. She and her daughter are helping decorate the bedroom of her other daughter, the youngest, who just got into a university in Florida. Her daughter, Georgia, who is here in this scene with her, helping her decorate, she also goes to a school in Florida, in Miami. So she's telling Heather how different it is to go to this, new place, really far from where they live, totally new experience, and she seems to really be enjoying it, which is good. I'm not of that mindset. I went to college where I live. I'm going to law school here where I live in Dallas, Texas. I don't know. I just feel like I get everything that I need here. So I don't need to leave. But if I was living in Utah, maybe I would. Maybe I would want to leave. So they surprise the youngest daughter. She goes into the room once it's all decorated. She was very excited. Overall, it was a very nice, wholesome scene. It was nice. Then moving along to Bronwyn. So Bronwyn says that Utah recently passed some regulation or some policy that they don't allow any sort of like flags in their government buildings, including LGBT flags. So she wants to help out and put pride flags in non-government buildings. Anyway, she's with her mom helping her, and as they're doing that, they somehow begin to talk about people and not caring what people say and life and things like that. And then along the conversation, her mom ends up saying that Bronwyn did a great job with Gwen, with raising her. And she says to Bronwyn, I am proud of you. And in that moment, Bronwyn is moved to tears and meant a lot to her to hear that. It was an interesting conversation. It was definitely something that Bronwyn really needed to hear. All right, and then it is the day for Bronwyn's founding father's American Boston Tea Party. The thing, I don't know, I think it's kind of funny. We see Britney on her way there. She's on a vehicle with Whitney and Heather, and she's telling them how she met with Meredith at a park. She explained how they apologized, and then Whitney asks her, did she acknowledge how she assaulted you? And Britney's like, well, no, she didn't, but I don't really want to harbor any bad feelings, so I kind of we're moving on. I gotta say, however you feel about Britney, she's really been and continues to be the bigger person in this situation. I gotta give it to her. Bronwyn. So everybody gets there. She brought some 1773 wigs. I can't believe these back in the day, like these grown English men were literally wearing these ugly wigs and putting powder on their faces. Like, what was going on? I don't know. So then Bronwyn, everybody's there. She's giving them a history lesson of the Boston Tea Party, how the colonists were mad that they were not getting representation, but they were still paying their taxes. So she somehow ties this to them as a friend group and how, they need to spill the tea, but just like the colonists did that to lead to the American Revolution and form a more perfect union, that's what they should do. Listen, she was doing a lot of talking, a lot of spinning with that. So that's her mission, this party. She had some hot dogs because, what other food, I guess, it was American. So they did a little speed round questions to all the women in their confessionals, and they were so dumb. These women, like, they didn't know how many senators there are in the U.S. They didn't know what the Bill of Rights are. I feel like the U.S. has the most uneducated citizens about their own country. Like, how do you not know what the first 10 amendments of the Constitution are? Like, what? And it's crazy how these people who take their citizenship test have to, like, study so hard, and these people who are just born here don't even know them. But anyway, that was funny to watch. So they're eating or whatever, and they're drinking some tea. So then Bronwyn hands them all a box to represent, like, the tea that the Boston protesters actually dumped into the water. So she's going to have them write the name of somebody who they've spilled tea about, and then they're going to, like, throw it into the harbor, which there isn't actually a harbor there, obviously. They just kind of throw it into whatever. So this felt really reminiscent of the season 5 finale. Anywho, Angie goes first. She says, well, I'll write Lisa's name. Apparently, when they were all in their below deck trip, Lisa announced that she bought a horse. Now, Angie had some questions about this and talked to Mary about it, maybe not believing it entirely. Anyway, it wasn't really anything malicious or harmful. It wasn't anything bad. But is Lisa pissed about it? Of course. But it's whatever. Britney goes, she says that she's going to put a question mark on her box. And she says that she wants to know who spilled the tea on her. Who said that she was flirting with Joe Wow? Joe Wow is one of the guys at the crew and below deck who Jared heard she was flirting with, and that's why they broke up. Well, it was Whitney. Whitney told Justin, and Justin told Jared. Whitney says that she didn't do it in a bad way, though. So then Heather goes, she writes Bronwyn's name, and Heather says, well, I mean, I have been talking about this rumor that, Todd was making out with someone and farting. And she says to Bronwyn, like, don't you think it's absurd? And then Bronwyn's like, it's not funny. You've spilt your tea, now go throw it. So Heather apologizes. Then Bronwyn goes next, and she writes down Whitney's name. She says to Whitney, Whitney, you and I had a lunch, and I wanted to be a good friend to Meredith, so I alerted her what you told me when I thought you went a little bit too far, but I apologize for telling her what you told me. So then Whitney says, well, if it was so bad what I said, then why didn't you stop me when I said it? You actually laughed when I said it. We were having a private conversation, and you broke that trust and making me look horrible to Meredith. And that's when Bronwyn starts to get defensive. And she's like, well, if it makes you look so horrible, then you shouldn't have said it in the first place. At this point, it's between you and Meredith. Whitney's like, did you really expect me to say that to a belligerent woman days after what she did on the plane? And that's when Meredith says, if you want to go there, let's go there. I've only told the truth, so stop with your lies. And then Whitney says, what? What are you talking about? Did you not yell in the plane? Did you not taunt Britney for 6 hours? And Meredith says, no. Whitney says, wow, can I have the crazy pill that y'all took? Like, y'all want to call me a liar, but guess what, Meredith? There were witnesses. Everybody saw. And Meredith, she just keeps saying, you're a liar. And then Whitney says, if you're going to call me a liar, then let's do it. Alcoholic. Pill popper. Whoa. Then Meredith gets up and she says that she's got some presents for everyone. So she pulls out this big bag that had little gift bags in there. So she gives them all one of the little gift bags. And inside the bag, it had like Meredith Marks caviar, some other goodies, and a drug test for each of the women. I can't. This show is unreal. So everybody's like, what? And then Meredith says, I'm willing to take a drug test. If you have accused me of substance abuse, then let's all take the test. And then she kind of notices that Whitney, it's like putting it to the side. And she's like, well, you're quick to put it away, Whitney, but you're the one making the accusations. You want to spread this rumor. So then they start to go back and forth and back. And then Whitney says, she says to Meredith, do you not see you have this pattern where you'll go to sleep and then you'll wake up really mad? I've witnessed your behavior and I recognize it. Now, when she said that, everyone kind of got the hint that she's trying to compare Meredith to her dad. And, then she says to Meredith, I need you to realize that I'm worried about you because I love you. No, come on, Whitney. There's nothing more infuriating than when you're calling someone out and then, or trying to make them look bad, but then you want to mask it by saying, oh, but I'm doing it because I care about you. Not really. So at this point, Lisa gets involved, trying to defend Meredith, but obviously it makes things worse. Now Meredith is trying to gaslight the whole group, rewriting history, once again denying to even screaming or yelling. So at this point, Mary and Heather are like, that is not true. They don't necessarily agree with what Whitney is saying, these accusations that she's throwing out about Meredith, but that also doesn't mean that they agree with what Meredith is saying, because Meredith is lying to them. So Heather confronts her and pretty much says, it is not true. So at some point, Meredith's saying to Whitney, you lie. And then she points to Heather and she says, you lie too. So that's where Heather gets mad. And she's like, you believe that I lie? I'm furious. So now Heather's crying. And she says, I'm upset about what you did. You've questioned my loyalty. You've questioned my friendship, my experience. I was there. I did nothing wrong. She then makes a comparison at how the Mormon church gaslighted her about what she experienced, trying to tell her that she never experienced it, so she feels like that's what Meredith is doing right now. Heather says to Meredith, I need you to say that you were horrified with what you did in the plane, and that I'm not lying about it. Don't say that I'm lying about it. And honestly, you guys, I did think Meredith at this point was going to just admit it, but she didn't. So then they really were not getting anywhere at this point. So Bronwyn then says that she has a surprise. She had this cool dress that had the Constitution wrapped around it. It was pretty cool. And she says, why don't we all go around and make some friendship amendments? And she says, I'll start off. My amendment to friendships is that family should be off limits. Heather says, I think that an amendment should be a woman of your word. It was funny because every time before they gave their amendment, they were like, hear ye, hear ye. So Lisa was like, be the friend you want to be. Mary says, let's be forgiving. And then Whitney says, don't bring up businesses and family. Angie's like, hear ye, hear ye. Don't accuse people without, having proper documentation. And then Brittany's like, well, let's always see the best in people. And then Meredith says, stop the reactive abuse. And then everybody's like, okay, well, whatever that means. And that was the end of the episode. Like I said, you guys, it was a fun episode. This little theme party just, I don't know, it made me chuckle a little bit. I thought it was funny, creative. But yeah, it was a good episode. But again, I do think Whitney's taking a step too far to compare Meredith to your dad. That's pretty severe. Now, however, that doesn't mean that we can give Meredith a pass. She does need to stop denying what happened, because everyone is agreeing that it happened, Meredith, and like you denying it is just it's not a good look. You definitely did whatever they said you did. You did it, Meredith. We've seen you lose it. But yeah, overall it was a good episode. Like I said, next week they're going to start their Greek trip, which was going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. And I can't wait for that. Now, you guys, let's talk about this news. So, Jen Shah is getting released in about a week or so. A week and a half. Now, this is where a lot of y'all and I are going to disagree. I want to see Jen Shah back. We started this show with her. It took a turning point in season 2 when for the first time ever we saw a housewife about to be arrested on camera. We actually saw the law enforcement show up. I mean, I don't have to go, back. We all know the impact that season 2 had on this show, and, led to season 3, the aftermath. And then, of course, season 4, it changed directions. But even season 4, with the whole Monica of it all, Jen Shah's presence was very much still part of that entire drama. Season 5 and now this one, I feel like we're starting to move on a little bit, but to deny Jen Shah's impact on the show would be ludicrous. So for this man, Andy Cohen, he's going out of his way to show his disdain towards Jen and saying how much he's got to draw the line. You don't got no moral high ground, Andy Cohen. Okay, you hired back Teresa Giudice. You're going to hire back Karen Huger. You're supporting Wendy Osefo publicly. And I know people are saying, well, the crime is different. Listen, a crime is a crime. She paid her debt to society. She's paying restitution. So don't give me the whole moral high ground. This is Bravo TV we're talking about. Okay, we're talking about Bravo TV. I think at the end of the day, Andy Cohen is still really upset, because I don't know if y'all remember this, but during season 3, Jen Shah did not go to the reunion, but she had agreed to do a sit down with Andy. Now she skipped that. She skipped that and did an interview with a YouTuber, a YouTube channel, before going to prison. And that has bothered Andy. And one thing about him is that he is a petty man. So embarrassing. So he in my opinion, he's an idiot. But y'all, let me know. Do y'all not want? I know a lot of fans don't want to see her back because they do think she's too toxic. I agree to that to a certain extent. But you guys, y'all know, think about her entertainment. Think about that. But you guys, let me know what your thoughts are about that topic and about this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.